again with another interesting tutorial. So for this particular tutorial, I'll be showing us the fastest way of making this sleeve in just 7 minutes. You are done. Okay, so the first thing to do is draft your basic sleeve. Okay, long sleeve. This is a long sleeve. If you don't know how to draft this sleeve, kindly check any of my previous tutorial. I made a comprehensive video on how to draft a basic sleeve. Okay, the difference between a normal basic small short sleeve and the long sleeve is just the extension. Okay, the sleeve length that's towards the elbow. Either you want the sleeve here or you want it towards the wrist. Okay, this is the wrist. So now I need to explain something. For this particular sleeve I want to show us, you need to determine where you want the sleeve to end. Okay, this particular sleeve comprises the main sleeve and the flare. Okay, so the main sleeve and the flare, so you have to determine where the main sleeve will end. Okay, where it would end, then from there you pick your flare. Okay, so whatever level you want, you have to deduct the length of your flare from the main sleeve. For example, if you measured 12 inches, that means you want the sleeve to end here. That's 12 inches. Okay, so from these 12 inches you have to determine how long you want the flare to be. If you want the flare at maybe 18 inches, okay, or maybe you want the flare to be a little bit longer, that's 20 inches. So what this means is that you are going to get the full sleeve length, the one you want. Okay, the full sleeve length, which is 20 inches. So I'm just taking like 20 inches for this. So what this means is that I'm going to get so what this means is that I need to deduct the length of the sleeve. Okay, so if the length of the sleeve is 20 inches, okay, if the length of the sleeve is 20 inches, and from this part, from the cap height, this is where the cap height is, that's this side. Okay, so from this cap height down to this elbow region is around 12 inches. Okay, so it means that the sleeve length, which is 20 inches, 20 inches is, let me just do it this way, the sleeve length is 20 inches, then the elbow, from the cap height to the elbow is elbow length is 12 inches. So it means I'm going to deduct 12 inches from 20. So that way I have 8 inches. So this 8 inches means that's my flare length. Okay, I told you from here to here 12 inches, then wherever you want the flare to get to. Okay, so that's for that. So we now know that my flare length will be 8 inches. Okay, so this is the flare length, so that will be 8 inches. So the next thing I need to know is the elbow circumference. What do I mean by elbow circumference here? This is the elbow, this is the elbow, right? This is the elbow. So you are going to measure your client's elbow. Make sure you place 2 fingers in between, so that whenever your client tilts her hand, it will not be too tight. Okay, so you need to place 2 fingers in between. So I'm just going to, I don't want it to be too loose and I don't want it to be too tight. Okay, so this is just for mannequin. So whatever the elbow circumference is, you write it down. So because I've already gotten this, I've already drafted out my sleeve. So I'll just come to this elbow region and do what? I'll measure it. So whatever you measure here is what you are going to use to cut your radius. Okay, whatever you measure here is what you are going to use to cut your radius. Because I am cutting a 360 degree flare. Okay, it depends on the kind of flare you want to use. Either you want to use 90-degree flare, you want it as 180-degree flare, or you want it at 360-degree flare. In fact, if you want it as 720-degree flare, you are free. Okay, so the measurement differs. So for this particular one I'm cutting it as 360-degree flare. So all I need to do is just to get the measurement of the elbow here. So after getting it, all I need to do is come back and do some little calculations. Okay, so the elbow circumference, okay, is 9.5. okay, so 9.5, I'm going to add, I need allowance. Okay, I need allowance here. So whatever the allowance is, you also include it in. Okay, but I'm assuming this is my fabric. Okay, I'm assuming this is just my fabric, so it will be 9.5 divided by 6.28. Now 6.28 is the circumference, that is the radius for a circle. Okay, the circumference, getting the circumference of a circle, that's the radius. You use 6.28. Do not make the mistake of dividing it by 4, because some people divide by 4. But one thing I came to realize is when you divide by 4, you end up having excess fabric because the measurement is not accurate. Okay, so when you go with the standard measurement for a radius, then you get it accurately. So now I'm going to write 9.5 divided by 6.28. So I will have roughly, that's 1.5. okay, so now 1.5, so this 1.5, I'm going to use it as the circumference, that's the circumference, my elbow circumference, that's 1.5. okay, so while the flare length, so this will be the flare circumference. Okay, that's the circumference round the flare will be 1.5, while the flare length will be, as usual, 8 inches. So now this 8 inches, you can decide to add 1 inch to it, because, or half inch, because you need allowance to turn it. If you want to use lining to turn it, you need allowance. So I can leave my flare length at 9 inches. Okay, I can leave it at 9 inches. So what do? I'll work with this measurement. So the first thing I'll do is I'm going to detach this from here. Okay, so I'm going to detach this. Okay, like so. I did it this way because I wanted you to understand this tutorial properly, because on a normal day you don't even need to do it this way, as in measure it full length. Okay, you just measure your client's full length, you deduct the flare length from the main sleeve, and you use it to cut. So now all I need to do is I'm going to get the fabric I will use for the flare. Okay, so this is the main sleeve, so this is where this sleeve will get to the elbow. Okay, so the next thing I'll need to do is I need to get another fabric. How do you know the amount of fabric to fold? Because this is you are cutting a 360-degree circle flare. Okay, now for 360-degree circle flare, just get your fabric and fold into 2, like so. After folding into 2, before you fold into 4, just ensure that you are able, that the fabric will be able to contain the flare length plus, the flare length plus the circumference. Now the flare radius is 1.5, so I'm going to add 1.5 from here. I'm going to add 1.5 to 9 inches, so that will give me 10.5. So you can see this fabric will be enough. okay, so it will be enough. So that's how you get to know. Then you also check this side if you also get 10.5. So you can see the fabric is perfect. So with that, I'm just going to fold again into 4. So see what I did. You fold first like this. This is how you fold your fabric. Then you fold it again into 4. So after folding your fabric into 4, now I want to cut the flare. Okay, very simple sleeve. So the first thing to do is cut out the full length. That's 1.5. So this is the folded part. Let me show us again. This is the folded part. Don't start your measurement from that side, okay? So you start from this. So from here, I'll just measure 1.5 plus 9 inches the flare length. That's 10.5. So just measure 10.5. Make sure you place it correctly, okay? So this is the 10.5. So I'll just take my pen and mark where 10.5 gets to. Then from this point again, I'll take it again. This time around, it won't be too close to that part. I'll also measure 10.5. So this 10.5. So I'll come again, I'll place it here again. So that's how I'll keep doing it until I get to this part. The reason is because I want my circle to be accurate, okay? So 10.5 again, I'm going to measure 10.5 like so. Mark it, then so after marking it, next thing to do is I'm going to carefully connect all these dotted lines, okay? I'm going to connect them together. So just connect it carefully like so. Like so. So having done that, all I need to do is to cut it out. So you need to trim it in case it's not equal. So having cut it out, next thing I'll do is I need to get the elbow circumference, okay? So now this part, I've gotten the flare length, the flare length. So now I need to get the elbow circumference around here. So according to my measurement, it is 1.5, okay? 1.5. So I'll just come here. Same thing, I'll start measuring 1.5. So can you see? I'll start measuring 1.5 from here. I'll mark it. So that way, I'll just connect as usual. So after cutting it that way, so next thing I'll just cut it out like this. after cutting it out, the flare is set, and this is my sleeve. I'm sure you'll be wondering why this part is wider and this is shorter. Well, you'll see. So before I do that, I just need to cut one part of, you're not cutting the two, just one part. So you need to open it up. So when you open it up, I have this as my full circle. Okay, so you can see this is my full circle. So this is what they call 360-degree flare. So with this 360-degree flare, all I need to do is just to sew my sleeve. So this, I'm going to sew it starting from this line. Okay, from this, this is the part I'm going to close up. Okay, so when you want to sew it, you just this is just paper. So you start from one end, you start sewing, you start going round, like so, to go round until you get to this end. So as you can see, I am done sewing it. So you see what I did. So while sewing along the line, I had to pleat it. So you see how lovely it is. So next thing to do is I need to notch this part. You need to notch it so that it will lie flat. Okay, so you need to notch, but make sure you don't notch close to your the threads. Okay, make sure it doesn't get close to the threads, like that. So after doing that, so what I'll do next is I'll take it to the sewing machine. Let me just place it here. So this is how it will look like by the time I finish sewing this. Something like this. And you see, it will look like this. So let me go and sew. Let me go and finish it up. Okay. So all I need to do at this point is I want to assume that before you sew it, you must have used lining to turn this part. Okay, you must have used lining to turn the flare parts before you start attaching it to the main sleeve. And you must have used lining. If you want to put lining on the main sleeve, you must have used lining to turn this and turn this before you join the both together. Okay, so having done that, next thing is right sides facing each other like this. So it's time to sew. Just being careful because this is paper. So I'll take it to the sewing machine and I'm going to stitch like so. Okay, so let me do that. I'll be back. So this is the final outcome. So can you see how lovely the sleeve is? Can you see the bell hand? Can you see how lovely the sleeve is? So it's as simple as ABC. Okay, it's as simple as ABC. So just try yours out. I just had to manage to turn into the positive side. This is paper, so that it doesn't get to tear. Okay, but at least I was able to do this. So you can use any fabric. You can use your Ankara fabric. You can use whatever fabric you want to use. Okay, so if you enjoyed this video, kindly give me a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe to my channel for more sewing tutorials. So watch out for the next clip. Thank you.